Hey, so by now, those of you that saw this clip should know it's fake. My hope is that you opened the Crown Tundra DLC, went into the options menu, and didn't find the option to switch your icon progress. But I know there were a few people that were able to figure out it was fake. To those people on 4chan, thank you for pointing out the mistakes I made. With that, I was able to go back in and fix the minor details before posting to Twitter. So I guess the question now is, how did I do it, right? Was it video editing and Photoshop to alter the look of the UI? Yes, but I would say maybe 5%. So let's start with the program I used to make most of it, Unreal Engine 4. The same game engine they used to make Sword and Shield. So I don't know if you're able to see it, but this clip is from the 8th, and there's a lot different with it in the final clip. The first noticeable difference is that it's in Japanese. However, I'm not good enough at Japanese to have translated the icon progress description text correctly. The second difference is the font. The font used in the final version was UD Kakugo Large PR6N, which came with its own hurdles, being that I couldn't acquire the font face without breaking Adobe's terms of service. So what I had to do is export each word as its own image. The last difference is the icons have unique animations and aren't completely accurate, which is because instead of taking screenshots of the actual icons, masking them out, and importing them into Unreal, I decided to recreate them from scratch. Yes, I know this was probably the most time-consuming way of making a fake leak, but it was never my intention to do it the easy way. It was always my intention to learn how to make UIs in Unreal and develop my skills as a game developer further. Here's the initial blockout of the Pokédex icon that was taken into Photoshop and touched up to look sharp but not jagged, which can be seen briefly here. And if you would like to see the whole process from Google Drawings to Photoshop to Unreal, let me know and I'll post the uncut 4-minute video. So I'm going to do a quick overview of kind of how I did it in Unreal. First, we're going to start out with the menu button container. So as you can see, this has no children. These are actual widgets that are called circle button widget, right? They're added dynamically into the menu button container. And for anyone who knows, normally they're stored as in arrays. So to have them dynamic and have them in 2 rows, you might be curious about how I did that. There's a nice algorithm called row major order, and that's how I did it. You can kind of use that to go between 1-dimensional arrays and 2-dimensional arrays fairly quickly and easily. So then the next overview is the buttons themselves. You see they have all these different animations they can do. They have 3 images that are being displayed, and that's kind of how like they compound. So you can see like the tertiary is actually blank for this one, but you see that's kind of how they compound and like become one image that is seen at the end, which we can actually go and look at them in more depth, which you can see I actually have more versions of the Pokeballs here than what was shown, right? Just because, you know, I kind of got into like a role of doing this, and just 1 or 2 nights I spent just making Pokeballs for, I guess, fun, right? And then you have, you know, the save icons. It's technically 3 images. We store the angle at which they're turned, so that's why like they're turned, you know, -25, and when I create the images, they are, you know, perpendicular. They go straight up and down, right? So we have the turn, we have the button ratio, so how much this should be shrunk by in comparison to the overall button. Which widget is its parent? So pause menu, this is the parent for the button, and then which widget to open on press. So the only one that has a, you know, widget to open is the options icon, and that is the options widget. And then we have the text that is put below. I didn't use transition matrices, and I didn't use material instance image references. This was basically you can put information into an image. Since all I use are black and white images, I could actually transcode information if I wanted to. So I could have maybe like half of this image is gray and half of it's white, and then based on this transition material, I can say, okay, if it's above, 120 for the value of RGB, then show it. If it's below, make it invisible. And that's kind of how that was supposed to work, but I haven't really gone into that, and that's a little more explanation than we need. So yeah, we have just all the images, right? And then same with the options. If I can select it, there it is. The option setting, this is a scroll box that have all the contents added dynamically. And again, that's using a data table to essentially add them. It has like, what their title should be, which we can see here. This is actually the image for the title. And this looks really different. And that's mostly because the sliders and the capsules that are using text are actually the same options capsule. And then I populate this area, which is a horizontal box with either text children or a slider itself. So the slider also, it works. Like, even though I didn't show this in the thing itself, these actually work. And that just comes from, me coding it in, even though I, in hindsight, didn't need to. The scroll bar also works, but it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So when I go from top to bottom or bottom to top, this doesn't update until I go to an index, right? An active row that can update it. So the scroll bar also uses the same logic behind the slider bar, which you can see it's 3 images. And then we have a numeric display, which this is the text version. And then these are the images that I had to quickly do just to get it working, which, oops, I put it down. But we can see they're all just here and hidden. All right. So yeah, that's how I did it. Man, that was a long-winded explanation. I hope your eyes didn't gloss over during what was supposed to be a general overview. And that leads us to this clip, the result of all of that work. And with this, only the info box text is left to do. So here I use the technique that I should have used from the beginning, which is overlaying the original UI with the recreation. In this case, it's just text, right? Which, hindsight 2020, but at least I learned what to do for next time, though I don't think there will be a next time, because recreating a game's UI is very painful. So for the options text box, I use the typewriter effect, where you can get it from the effects and presets. And if that you don't have that window, here it is. Just go to Windows, click that, right? And drag and drop onto it. So here are the settings that I have. I use the offset. A better version is using start. However, this ended up having the exact timing that Sword and Shield's UI has. And the reason I had to, write an expression is because the typewriter effect only does 1 character at a time, and this does 2. However, if we change this to 3, it doesn't do it correctly. So it'll do like 2 letters and then 3 letters. So like 2, that's 3. But the space was the 6th letter, and then it just did 2 letters for yo. So that's the worst version. There's a simpler version, which I'm showing you now. So this, only downside about this version is it's not as fast, like it takes longer. So if you render this out and then bring it into Premiere, which I did, the just time required to go between showing sequential characters is much longer than the offset version. Don't know why. Easily just speed it up. And then make sure that you have units as index, and make sure this is more than the amount of characters that you have in the line. If it's less, it does a weird effect, right? Where we got this really strange effect. Might be useful, but yeah, that's how I did the post editing or the post production. And I just took screenshots of each individual capsule with their text box completely filled out. And then, yeah, I just brought it in, overlaid it. Where is it? Right? Just overlaid it and wrote what was in the text box. So you might be wondering what technique I used before overlaying. This is it. I basically put Premiere on my second monitor, sized it so it was the correct size, lined up the top and the bottom of the game menu, and then took a envelope, right? Because it was a straight piece of paper, and used it as a ruler to measure everything out. Mistakes were made. So with that, how close was the final product? Here is my pause menu, and here's the original. And here's a transition between the two to show how close the recreation was. Now, let's see what we just saw, but for the options menu. And with that, I want to thank everyone who made it this far into the video. If you have any questions, leave them below, or if you want to ask them to me live, I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/arrows, Friday through Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And note, my stream is intended for a mature audience, and trust me, the irony isn't unnoticed, but link in the description.
UI feature being added to the Crown Tundra. Let me see what this is. So what is it? I don't even know. Okay, so options. What is it? Icon progress. Oh! Yo, that's cool. That's really cool, if that's true. That's really cool if it's true.
What 2 weeks of not doing my Japanese review looks like.